How much do you pay?
You don't want to know.
Tell me.
Remember, it's subsidized artist housing. My mom was a raku potter, and it's rent controlled.
Just say it quick.
$900 a month.
You motherfucker.
Hello, lovers. Welcome back to And Just Like That, The Writer's Room, the official companion podcast of And Just Like That from Max. I'm Michael Patrick King, writer, director, and executive producer of And Just Like That. And here in the writing room this episode with me is executive producer and writer Julie Rottenberg.
Hi.
Co-executive producer and writer Samantha Irby.
Hello.
Executive story editor and writer Rachel Palmer.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so we are here today to discuss episode number 10, Better Than Sex. So I guess the first question I have...
Written by
Samantha Irby and directed by Michael Patrick King.
A dream team.
And now that we've said the word sex, I know you're completely fascinated and interested. So, but let me tell you, if you haven't seen this episode, please don't listen to this podcast till you watch Better Than Sex, the episode. Okay, so Aiden is gone. And everybody knows time heals everything, but for writing, time is necessary. We knew we couldn't just start Carrie the next week. So we wanted to let the audience know summer has gone and autumn is here, and she's writing her book. And Samantha, this is the most writery we've ever seen Carrie.
And I love it. I love the idea that she is so inspired by this new thing, and she's not scared of it. And she's confident with it. Like, we all know that starting any sort of new creative project is the most terrifying thing on earth. And to see her just getting after it and continuing to be like, to love it is so great.
And writing her way through the pain.
Yeah.
That she can actually sort of like when you write in your journal and work through something, it's like she can frame it in a beautiful, poetic way.
Yeah, I think that's the great thing about being a writer is you can process your own emotions and, what you're going through without actually doing it. Like you do it for somebody else and it's cathartic.
God, it's so true.
And we also made the choice that she actually has created that world in the apartment with a lot of touchstones to what she's writing about. There's a lot of research on the boards. There's period clothing. There's an actual dress in the room. And you see that she's writing in the day and in the night. Do you guys surround yourself by touchstones for what you're writing when you write, or is it all in your mind?
That's such a good question.
Rachel, what do you do?
I don't have anything. I don't even have a desk. I write on my couch, in my bed, at my dining room table.
You're kidding.
But if you were writing a medical book, you'd have to have a medical book there. And she's basically writing a book about 1846. And it just, I have stuff around me, not literally, because they all live in my head, but I do have some sort of touchstones as a writer that I need to have around me. Maybe not pertaining to the actual thing I'm writing, but what makes me feel good when I'm writing. Do you have anything on your desk that's special?
Yes, Sam. What about you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my desk is covered. I am very much a person who likes to look at my things rather than use them. So I have like candles and little tchotchkes and like lipsticks, just in case the mood strikes that I need to write something while wearing a lip. I do have stuff surrounding me all the time. I will say for Carrie, though, it's amazing because the thing I use most for research is Google. And I love that Carrie has like, a period dress and like actual like tactile things.
Well, she loves
uses.
the library. Carrie went to the books and Xerox stuff and put them on the wall. So she's basically surrounded by this world she's been creating. And quite frankly, it's more comforting than the world she's been living in. So she walks down the stairs, and for the first time, we see Carrie's apartment furnished. Julie, do you remember way back in the day when I said there's not going to be any furniture in this apartment
And
till
no
episode?
one believed you, by the way. We had more meetings with all the production teams of set dressers and design. You were like, I'm not kidding. I want it bare for the
Empty.
first
I really thought the idea
7
was
episodes
for the first 8, really 9. This is episode 10, so she does get couches for the party. Little by little, it comes in, but the first thing that comes into the house, really, not her office, but and not her bedroom, but the house proper, is Aiden's table that he sends. And then
look how well that went.
yeah, but and look how well that table is no longer in the house now.
Right, that was also a discussion.
That was a big decision. When
It's like, does
when
she
walks
keep
through
the
that
table?
room,
Does she not keep the
she
table?
passes a bunch of shoes on the floor, which means she's still respecting the shoes rule with Duncan underneath her. And you see rugs and furniture, and it's interesting. And it took Karen and her team 7 months to come up with, Sarah Jessica, what Carrie would have. What's the design choice? And one of the big things was, does she get rid of Aiden's table? And we decided yes.
It's reminiscent of her giving back the ring, like she had that conversation with her friends, and we don't need to hear it this time. We know that's what Carrie is, like I will release these things that tether me to this person.
It's also not her. It was her and him. So now she's looking at stuff that's her. It's a round table. It's all wood. The chandelier has been switched out. And the most interesting thing at the table is Duncan. Duncan is now fully not downstairs, fully in her table.
Yeah, that was shocking.
Doing her work. And it was our way of saying, okay, there's been some distance. Aiden is gone, folks. And he is now in the house, and he is commenting on her writing. And it's the first time in the series we've ever had a voiceover that someone commented on as soon as it stops. When she repeats, she had done all she could, she had done all she could, she had done all she could. It's the first time the voiceover is actually in his head and he's reading what she just wrote.
It felt like we were breaking the
So
fourth
many
wall or
rules.
something.
So many rules. But he loves her book. You see he loves it. You see she's very interested in what he has to say and proud of what she's written. But the thing he says that's most interesting for us, the writing team, because we came up with it in the room, is the man, meaning Aiden, because she's the woman in the book, had survived the war, but died of a wound from a previous battle. And that previous battle for us is Aiden and Big.
And I loved the moment when Duncan, for the first time really, crosses that line to talk about Aiden. Because if you think about it, even after Duncan and Aiden and Carrie were sitting at that table together, they never talk about it again.
He never mentioned it. No,
never
he's
talk
very
about
appropriate.
it. It's like the third rail.
And he even hesitates before he does. He says, I wonder, what would I be reading if he were still here?
And that, to me, was like, oh my God, they're crossing the line into
They are no longer
personal.
Because the whole thing was like, I don't know anything about him personally. We only talk about page 22 sucks. And now here he is saying to Carrie as a person, what would I do?
He never says his name. I in can't remember what episode when he says that's your man. There's your man. It's like it felt like an understood thing that he's the off-screen character to Duncan.
Yeah.
The best part of that scene for me is that it happens while he is opening her cabinets and getting out her scotch and clearly very comfortable in her space. And
Yeah,
like
it's true.
we see that there's an intimacy there without them having to knock us over the head with it. But he knows where the glasses are. He knows where the booze is.
As she says, I haven't gotten a scotch worthy. It's all still around writing, but you're right, Sam. He goes right to the place that he's gone before. At least he knows the pantry, the kitchen, and the dining room.
Knowing someone's pantry is very intimate.
Especially if that's where the scotch is.
I was going to say, I love the banter of him saying, I have 5 bestsellers, and she says, I have 7. I just love
Oh, that's pure Samantha.
It's just
That's
so,
pure Samantha.
It's just so I love Carrie Bradshaw, man.
I mean, when I was reading Samantha's draft, I was like, only Samantha would write. The plots are already written for you.
Yes.
Like to reduce somebody's work down to just like you just recording, I'm inventing.
God, how many bestsellers do you have, Sam? You probably have 7.
I have 4.
All right.
Not that it's a
Get
competition with,
back to work.
but I
Pam.
do.
And I'm always reminding anyone who thinks they're fancy that I'm fancy.
Good, as you
No, I'm
should.
just kidding. I'm
No,
just
it
kidding.
is a really good back and forth because you realize they're both successful, and then she calls him on the plots are already written, and then on his way out, he acknowledges he's a little bit behind on his deadline because he's been helping her, which she feels bad about. But as he leaves that amazing little kitchen, he looks back at her and says, "Well done, you." And here I could almost cry. This is Sarah Jessica. The way she looks at him when he says that after he's left and she's just there. And then Michael Birnbaum, who's our brilliant editor, always decides, well, here's where I'll put the title. But he puts "and just like that" over that. And it's like, and just like that, she's thinking of him differently. Sarah Jessica's ability to sort of resonate something has shifted without ever saying a dialogue line, but just all of a sudden, it's shifted there, right there.
It's
that little
on.
moment shifted. And then we go into the darkness of a pleasant dinner. We get to see who? Steve is back.
Woo woo.
And we see him and Miranda and Brady having a nice dinner, we think. And he kids Miranda on how nice her apartment is. And she says, I bought it furnished. And he's like, of course, because we took 2 years to buy a couch. But Brady comes in and he's cooked.
It feels like this homey, familiar, nostalgic moment with the three of them all together, like old times, and you feel like he's gotten his
Or
shit
like,
together.
I would say like new times, not old times.
Yeah, my parents got divorced when I was 15, and I remember like when I was 20 and we finally the wounds had been dissipated and we all were able to hang out together as a family again. It was just such a weird like, oh, okay, we're back here. That didn't end our
We're
family
doing this.
like I thought it would.
No, and the thing is that Brady announces he's going to go back to school.
Which is, I think Miranda is like, I can die happy now. She's so
Yeah.
happy. I think it feels like such a victory in that brief moment.
And he's going to be a
until-
chef. And of course, we rarely nod to pop culture because hopefully these shows will go on and on and on and on. But we just had to say he's being a chef because Steve says, because of that show, The Bear. That's really what kicked it into his head. Not that his father has a restaurant, not that he's been cutting up French fries, but that it's that show, The Bear, which has a glamorousness to it,
I remember being terrified by this.
Yeah.
I felt like a little too closely identified with Miranda. And
Terrified
the
by what?
of you know how I feel about babies and children on the screen. I want to see as little of them as possible. But then, of course, once I saw what it gave us as writers, like just this rich conflict with Brady and the baby mama, and now Steve, how could I deny the beauty of that?
Look, the reality is, what's thrilling about it is scary. And it is like it creates a series of obstacles that we as writers have to then steeplechase over. And then we have to decide how we want to do this. But it comes from reality. I have a couple of friends whose kids have gotten people pregnant and they've had to deal with that. And what I love about it, it's not just a pregnancy, it's the complication of a pregnancy with somebody who doesn't want to be with you. Like it's not even
a
like his
relationship.
girlfriend's pregnant.
Right.
And they're going to be a couple. And it's like it's a gray area, as Miranda comes to call it. It's a gray area. And she doesn't like gray areas. But to see these two parents react and to have Miranda be the grounded
cool
one.
one.
Yeah.
Well, and what was interesting about shooting that is I remember at first there were a few takes where Miranda was like the mother, I'll call her, where she was clearly upset and freaked out. And then go to lawyer mode. And that's when she clocked in and was like, how far in is she?
She's very
just
analytical.
like survival mode. Yes. And he says, I don't know. That shrug.
Oh, the shrugs.
It was your impulse to have Steve go off the deep end more than Miranda, which was I believe it because he's seeing himself in Brady. And just the pain of spelling that out for Brady while he's sitting there, I thought was so fraught.
And in front of Miranda, I think Steve is still very raw from the divorce, and
I think it also is emblematic of the shift from when your kids are always going to be your kids, but at some point that kid is a man and you can kind of start talking to him like he's a man. And so I appreciated that it wasn't just kid, that we didn't have
kid gloves.
Steve come to him with kid gloves. Yeah, he was
he came with adult gloves.
You fucked up and I'm gonna punch you.
I mean, it's true. And Steve, let us not forget, he is not intellectual. Miranda is the analytical one. Steve is the emotional. And the other thing too is he came through this. He came through the beginning of that Miranda-Steve pregnancy. He got rejected so much by Miranda, but he had the strength and the love to keep going, to try to make them a couple and a family. And he's hearing that the woman wants nothing to do with Brady. So it's just a mess. And the obstacle of Brady not even knowing her last name, and he just keeps shrugging and shrugging and shrugging.
You're 20 fucking years old and you don't have $2 in your pocket for a fucking rubber? And you shrug the shoulders again, and I'm gonna fucking lay you out.
Okay, let's just all calm down. Where are you going?
Away from the verbally abusive and physically threatening parent.
This is not a joke, buddy! You have messed up your entire life! Fuck, Miranda, fuck!
Neil Cunningham, the most incredible
so
actor who
good.
plays Brady. If you watch his performance, right after he says, yeah, so I got someone pregnant, you almost feel like, okay, there's okay, I did that.
I did the hard part.
Almost like a relief. I'm going to get that out of the way, and then we're going to get
I got
back
a
to
D in
dinner.
history.
Right. And the fact that they're both
Pass the salt.
are you fucking kidding me? Just it just reveals how incredibly lacking in maturity is around this topic.
Well, and also that age group, Mia, the baby mama, has basically said, it's cool, don't worry about it. They think it's cool.
Right.
And then the adults are like, there's no way this is ever going to be cool.
Oh, my God.
And it's so upsetting.
And just to see the shattering of your kid's life, just to look at their faces and the grasping at, Miranda is going to keep asking questions she thinks are going to make her feel better. The answers just keep getting worse. I think the darkness of that scene and the fear around that scene, you answered the question of, is this going to be depressing and scary now with that music and the three-way call, the bye-bye birdie?
Let's talk about that because, the idea of violating reality, because what I've always liked this show, filming-wise, is that it seems like it's really happening and it doesn't call attention to itself. Like on a lot of shows when someone's texting and they write the text right on the screen so they don't have to cut to the phone because it feels old-fashioned. Right? I always want to believe Carrie's real. And so this is a rare moment where we're actually saying, oh, it's a television show, and we're going to split the screens. You're going to see something that isn't real. We did it, I think, once or twice in Sex and the City when they were all going to go dancing. And there was the four of them, and they kept switching. And it is very Bye-Bye Birdie. It is very stylized.
But it's also a way of telling the audience, it's going to be okay. It's still going to be fun. We're going to be able to laugh at this because it doesn't feel funny
it's
at the end of that dinner scene.
A young person's reaction to this, I'm going to be a grandma. It's such a, the dichotomy of,
I'm calling my girlfriends and we're talking about a boy we like. But the reality is we're talking about a boy we all know who got somebody pregnant. And the difficulty of doing something like this is Tim Norman, the DP, and Michael Birnbaum were right there going, Carrie has to be on the right. She has to lean. They all have to move at the same time because they're not doing it at the same time. And they have to be in sync, and it becomes very much art in a box. And it's fun to do. And I'm really happy because what it does, as Julie said, it lifts up into the silliness and call waiting, ladies and gentlemen. What's better than call waiting? And then we go directly into the other idea of a relationship, someone who is not going to get pregnant, two guys having sex. And it's
You never know.
that we know of. I don't know when you're watching this.
I
If
was
you're
gonna
watching this
say,
in
what with AI
2075,
and
maybe
all.
that's already happened. But the fact of the matter is Anthony and Giuseppe are having sex and there's a pounding at the door while they're pounding each other. And Anthony goes to the door and as Giuseppe says, don't answer the door with a heart on.
And then it's Zac Efron, the
And then
Can I
it's a hot
ask something?
fireman.
And
Yeah.
this might be inappropriate. How did on set? How did you get the effect of pushing?
Well, if you're
him
going to ask the question,
down?
you're going to have to say it. Say
Yeah,
it. Say it.
people
Say
Okay,
wanna
it.
did he
know.
actually
That's
have
a
a
great
boner?
question.
Did he have a boner that he was pushing down?
No, that was a prosthetic that we picked. I picked for him so that
Okay.
he could have a playmate to hit down and go up.
Okay,
It's a
that was
comedy
my
moment.
question. Thank
You
you.
know,
This is
Just
when we
like-
have to
just
tell
like in-
Rachel it's not real.
Just
Playmate.
Well,
he had
I
a playmate. He need. It's a co-star. He needs to have.
Yes.
In that scene, the comedy is him having a scene with his penis. Go away, come back. Go away, come back. Go away, come back.
Is the penis in the union?
Yes,
Yeah,
the
and
penis
how
is
does that
always
work?
in the
How did it
union.
get
And
back
that's
up?
a
And
different
I'm-
prosthetic.
I'll ask later. I'll call props.
This is not a real penis, just like Harry's wasn't real.
I was going to say,
back
not to
in
be
Yes.
confused with
Charlotte when she was holding his
Evan's
penis.
prosthetic penis. They all have their own dressing rooms.
Yeah,
the
they're
penises.
not.
Oh
They
my
do
The
not
penises?
share
It's amazing.
penises. The penises
Yes.
are individual. Anyway, I'm
The
happy that we're
penises need a
talking about this
podcast.
because it's
Yeah.
really a throwaway. And yet here it is. We're talking
like
about
that
it for
you
5
noticed
minutes.
that,
And Samantha
Rachel.
actually said to me when she saw the production, I love him with his heart on in the hall. Not those words. She's more
Of
poetic.
course, Sam. Oh my God.
Yeah, I would have said it much cruder.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what we find out is that, and this is another thing, every kind of weird plot point that seems so specific comes from somewhere. Michael Birnbaum, our editor, I just mentioned, somebody in his building punctured a gas line hanging up a flat screen, and they all had to move out of their apartments for 2 months.
New York City,
months?
ladies and gentlemen.
2 months because it was
2
an elaborate
months.
building and
Yeah,
they didn't know how
old
to. They had to
pipes.
pull pipes
Old
apart
pipes.
and
Oh
it's
my
just
God.
so anyway. That when stuff like that goes in your head, it's like, well, how am I going to get them to Giuseppe's? Oh, flat screen gas leak.
And I believe this was a story you've been wanting to do at least since
Mhm.
last season.
At least, well, this story has been in speaking of in utero since I had puppets as a young boy. My
This was a
first
story-
performance.
Oh
The
my
first actors I worked with were puppets because that was acceptable since little boys couldn't play with dolls. I sort of placeboed a puppet in there.
Really?
And I
I
was
didn't
kind of
know
had
that.
puppets. Oh, there's Hansel, there's Gretel, there's the witch, I've actually had the Beatles, all 4 Beatles.
Were they
Sam, I bet your
marionettes
mouth
or
is
were they
watering
hand?
now.
Were they hand
Oh.
puppets or marionettes?
Marionettes. So puppets are always a thing that I'm fascinated by. And I was trying to think what could be funny for Anthony to experience. And we knew it wasn't going to be, young roommates. We've already done that. We did Carrie with young guys
Dating a 20-something.
Tim Oliphant was like the first young guy
Yes.
she slept with. and
Valley
they
of the 20s.
they didn't have coffee filters and toilet paper. So I was like, we've done young, so let's do something not young, which is old. And that his roommate is a craftsman who makes puppets,
Who just happened to look like Giuseppe.
who looks exactly like Giuseppe.
And
Now,
that Anthony says out loud, I hope this day would never come. Like,
that he would have to go to the roommate, to the seat, meet the
because we
roommates.
wanted to call out the reality that they've been together a very long time, but it's not just that we as an audience haven't seen Giuseppe's apartment. Anthony has never seen it.
And if you think
apartment.
writers talk a lot about what they do, go have a couple meetings with puppeteers because this had to be built.
God.
We had to do, and the joke was it had to look exactly like Giuseppe. So there were a puppet audition. People created puppets, and they had 3D scans of Sebastiano's head. He had to go.
Oh my God.
And we had
This is
sketch
incredible.
I mean, and it took 7 months. It took the entire production. We knew we were going to do
Oh my
puppets,
God.
and this puppet. almost the most expensive actor on the show.
Oh, I believe it.
I believe
And
it.
the quality had to be something, and it had to be a
God.
marionette.
Oh, my.
And then it was on the day we had 3 puppeteers showing the actor how to be a puppeteer. And I say this with absolute respect. The amount of artistry taken into creating this puppet by these masters of craft, it was something. And just for us to have him say, you know, Andrew, you mean Geppetto? He's into you. That puppet looks exactly like you with a huge package. And that's what I kept saying to the puppeteers. That was the most uncomfortable thing. The puppet needs to have a huge package. The shirt needs to come off. It can't be painted.
The puppet's shirt?
The puppet shirt came off because later in the episode, spoiler alert, Anthony's worst nightmare. He's in Giuseppe's apartment and they're about to go to sleep.
Can I talk to you about something? Again, the police will never come here and find my dead naked torso strung from the ceiling by my nipples.
Agree to disagree.
He is a sweet, asexual roommate.
How would you like to trade him in for a sexual roommate? You want to move in together?
That is a wonderful offer, Tony. And yes, someday. Let's wait. I wouldn't want us to move too fast. Okay, I have to go pee.
And then he goes to pee and sees his roommate masturbating to the puppet with the shirts off now, of course, as you mentioned. And it's really, now we're doing Psycho. We're doing Psycho. The puppet looks at him. He looks at the puppet. The music escalates and he comes in and says to Anthony, sure, let's move in. So basically, he's completely overruled his sensibility for the fact that he will be hanging from the ceiling by his nipples if he doesn't leave that apartment.
And this is another rare moment where we leave our main character's perspective and we stay with Giuseppe and we get to see something that Anthony will never see or know about.
Never know about it. And then the other complicated character in the show that isn't a human is the hamster in the next scene with LTW, because we had to get a hamster who had to run the wheel. I was like, does this one run the wheel? We need him to run the wheel.
Elisa Zaritsky, who isn't here today, but I will assure you her kid had a hamster, and they are nocturnal and they're up all night on that freaking hamster. So, like, the fact that she was living temporarily in LTW's closet actually makes sense.
And the point being, this is the first time LTW in this an incredibly involved season for her has ever said, I'm overwhelmed. I'm a hamster on the wheel. I'm like that hamster. And we just touched it a little bit. She's going to D.C. to do an interview, and she has to go to a press breakfast. And his election is coming this week, and the mother's coming. And it's the first time she says, I can't do it all. And then on top of it, Herbert wants to fool around right before they go to the press breakfast. And she's like, you're crazy if you think we can fit that in.
Also, she's wearing those incredible, complicated pants. It's like, come on.
I mean,
no, you should have talked to me before the pants got on.
But as you see, LTW has some real obstacles she's going with. And then we cut to Charlotte. She's created obstacles that Harry believes didn't need to be there. An unnecessary renovation of her house. And it's just kind of our little way of saying they've come through cancer. Charlotte realizes life's too short. What does she want to improve? And she thinks, I want to change something. Nobody's dying. Let's start fresh. So she decides to renovate her house.
And of course, it wreaks havoc on her life.
Yes. And here's a story that Samantha's been floating, I think, for 3 years on the show, which is the energy cleanse, the psychic gift, the idea that someone gifts you something spiritual. Remember, Samantha, you've been pushing this for a while.
Well, I was gifted an over-the-phone energy cleanse.
Yeah, we fell down laughing when we heard about this.
I mean,
such bullshit.
It was so funny. And it's the kind of thing where it's like, oh, this is a nice thing to be offering, but also, what are you trying to say about me? And also, it's not really a gift to put me in an uncomfortable position with a lady I don't know on the phone. And basically, I had to lie down and talk to this woman on the phone while she
Quote,
Reiki'd
unquote.
my energy from California. And, you know, it was fine. I don't know if I
No,
was
but see,
cleansed,
No, we loved it
but I
so
did
much.
meditate.
But I don't know if as a human you were cleansed, but as a writer you knew this is right.
Yes.
We're using
I
this.
will do anything, especially if I can turn it into a bit. I was like, oh, you're giving me this? I took notes and everything.
Oh, yeah. And this was
It's
another one
amazing.
where I think at one point it was going to be in episode 2. We were like, we got to do the energy cleanse.
Yeah,
When is the
yeah, we
energy
have to do
cleanse
the energy cleanse.
coming?
And the other weird thing, and this is really, really a deep dive into the writing room. The name of the energy cleanser is Rhonda Portente. Now, we fell in love with the name Rhonda Portente when we thought it was going to be a neighbor in Carrie's
In episode 2.
Gramercy Park area who was sort of the ruler of the world, who thought she was a psychic, but we couldn't do it. It was too much story. So all of a sudden, Rhonda Portente is now
He
just a
fell
name
out.
on a screen. And the fun thing about this episode is it's a way of us bundling together 3 stories. Charlotte, Harry's come through cancer. The house is a mess. And then Rock has been cast and as the lead in Thoroughly Modern Millie.
And
as
this tap dance
as
thing.
Charlotte says to the audience / Rhonda Portente, to the viewers, we were all shocked. That was our get out of jail card free. Like, why is this kid suddenly in musical theater?
Underestimating
We
her
were
own
all
Well,
kid.
their
shocked.
best friend is a musical theater diva, so.
Which is Henry, yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you see tapping in the hall near the door. We wanted to create as much havoc as possible. So it's just a tiny little thing that Charlotte feels like she needs to do this. We don't know why yet, because we are like Rhonda Portente. We just sort of are reading her as somebody with a lot of privilege who's changing her wallpaper and talking about her husband's distracting her and her kids in a play. So if you didn't know Charlotte and you didn't know the underside and you were just looking at Assume, you'd think, this Upper East Side lady, she's not really a thing. And now we're back at Adam's apartment late at night, and it's post-sex cigarette, which she mentioned to Carrie that she has one out the window, and he's cool with it. First of all, we see the most spectacular apartment ever. It's in West Bath, because literally our belief system was that Adam was raised by a potter mother and an artist, and West Bath is a artist-funded community real estate building in the Village. The whole dream of Adam was that he would be a Greenwich Village born and raised kid. So we said West Bath because that's what it was. And then we went to West Bath. And this is one of the top floors of West Bath with that incredible view of downtown Manhattan. The production created the apartment. The view is real. We created the walls. We created the furniture. We made that little kitchen that was just an office. And the magic of Karen and Miguel creating, our set decorator and set designer, creating Adam's world to be a combination of hippie but not depressing, his mother's stuff but still a cool guy. Like, you want to be there. And we wanted it to be Sema salivating. And you want to say, oh, okay, dirt under the fingernails, cleaned up good when he went to the gallery. He looked pretty chic and he had a credit card. Now we're seeing that his... well, check. And now
That's my next book. Look pretty chic and had a credit card.
But the big story is he's kind of living in his mother's shrine of her art. And that was the fine line, not to make him look like a mama's boy, apartment-wise, like he's an adolescent, but also to see that he is celebrating her artistry. And Sema sees it as well.
But this idea that we've been talking about, that Sema in her old love life would look for the thing, the problem, the thing that was going to break down or give her an excuse to walk away. It's like she's almost relieved. Like, this is going to be the deal breaker. I figured it out.
Because real estate for her is.
Yeah, I can't be with a man who has a bad apartment. Like, she's already skated by the fact that his name is Adam Karma, but he did have a credit card with Adam Karma on it. So he takes her, she says, he's talking about his mother, that his mother died of cancer. It's a very sweet moment when he was 20. So you realize this guy's been alone a long time without a mom. So it's not like she's in the next room. And then Sema says, I would like to meet her. And he takes her into the kitchen and shows her this very expansive philodendron that he gave her when he was 7 that's still alive and growing. And he waxes poetic about his mother's determination. And Sema's looking at him and nodding and accepting it. And you cut right into her saying to Carrie, mommy issues.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to break us up.
It's like, I found the deal, but the other shoe dropped. I've been waiting for it.
I love this scene between Carrie and Sema so much. First of all, I love the way it looks. It's the last scene we filmed of season 3.
It's true.
Carrie's calling her on the bullshit that Sema's laying down that Julie was just talking about. She says, are you determined to make this bad? You know, what are the issues? And she says, the mother. But what comes up is Sema's hungry, which is nice. Can't we have dinner? And Carrie says, I can't, I'm working. And she mentions this relationship she has with Duncan. And she says, I could get used to it. And Sema says, used to what? And they say, ideas going back and forth and working with someone on a book. And then she says, could it be more than just a work relationship?
Right. And this was the idea that I think as writers, we were drawn to, that having that connection, that intellectual and meeting of the minds is
Cerebral,
in its
almost.
own way. Yes.
It's magical when you find someone that you can work
Connect with.
And look,
with.
quite frankly, when you've written Carrie for 27 years and you've brought her through all these iconic archetype characters, Mr. Big, the businessman, the shark, the titan, the one you can't get, Aiden, the heart, the soul, the nurturer, Petrovsky, the fancy, the peacock,
Arrogant.
Berger, the equal, the writer, that, like, what is the thing that
Right,
you're
in
bringing
fact,
with
I'm-
a new character? And
I'm
what we're
glad you
bringing,
mentioned Berger, because he also was a writer, but it didn't work.
It didn't work. No,
uh,
because of where they were. But this character is the first one Carrie said, he sees my thoughts. And she even references, like, other guys have seen me as cute,
Right.
whatever, lovable. And she goes, not humble. And she goes, no, it is limiting.
Yeah.
Carrie says it's limiting to just be seen the way I've been seen by men
Right.
for the
It's-
last 27 years.
Powerful. I think it's a powerful feeling that she hasn't had before. And that was a thrilling idea.
It's also kind of surprising. Every now and then, Sarah Jessica will push back on something that she feels is maybe too arrogant for Carrie to say. And when she didn't push back on her saying sexy, whatever, I thought, oh, we're into something here, because she says, no, it's limiting. And it shows that Carrie is moving past her original even idea of who she thought she was.
Sema goes to, could it be something more? And she says, would sex be more? Would it, is this already the peak of what it is? And that's such an interesting thing, because I feel like Carrie 20 years ago would just be constantly looking for that relationship, like the romantic relationship.
Well, yeah.
And this is something different. And she's like, it might be better.
Or would it make it less, she says? Would sex make something less? Hence the title, Better Than Sex, period. Is it that? And then we find out that she has to go and work with him because they're working at night. And Sema offers a ride because she's hired Rocco back. And that's our way of showing.
Giving her a victory.
She's on her victory. She's on her path. She had enough money now. She's got her own place. She's now got Rocco back. If it's a Greek myth, she went into the underground, she got the apple, and now she's on her way out into the next chapter of her life. And then Carrie, we get to see Duncan alone at the table, sipping scotch, and he braves the place he's never been, which is he goes upstairs. And Carrie, we conveniently, Sam gave her a writing problem, a printer problem. Who hasn't had a printer problem?
This made
everyone
me
can relate.
so happy that we were not just showing a printer, just like the nuts and bolts of what we do as writers, but the fact that the printer is broken, which our printer breaks like on average once a week, if not more.
Anyway,
Well,
Aiden, I mean, look at that, Freudian.
Ooh.
Anyway, Duncan broaches the castle wall, and we see a mirror. We see him coming up, and we see him in Carriesville. I mean, Carrie's office, even when this house was empty, Carrie's office was always still Carrieville.
Yeah.
Her office and her closet are Carrie at that point.
But also coming upstairs in this particular house felt very intimate and crossing
And we
crossing
had
a
to
line.
underline the fact that he's announcing he's coming up. We didn't want the audience to
Approaching.
think he'd ever been upstairs.
Right.
We're on constant high alert to tell the audience this is a mental relationship. He's not even come upstairs.
And it's all so fairy tale-y. Like it's Rapunzel, it's like her dress looks
Yes.
like Cinderella, him picking up the shoe feels Cinderella. Like it just he looks like a Disney prince in this episode. And maybe it's just
That's funny.
that maybe I'm reading into it.
He says to her,
Yeah, he
you are
does
such
look
a
like a
fairy tale when he
prince.
sees the
Yeah.
shoe closet. It is a fairy tale
It's
magic.
so the whole
He
thing
says
is a fairy
sparkle,
tale.
sparkle, and he has taken the lead in that scene. She's sitting down, he's standing up, and he risks, finally, now he's there. He says, would you like to go to dinner with me? It's a party. And it's a publisher party. And she, of course, makes fun of that publisher party. And he says, rewrite, and I'll pay you to go. Because he then manipulates her even further by saying, my publisher's not happy about my missed deadline. And Carrie looks at him, and after hesitating for a minute, she says, write the check, I'll go with you. It's crossing a
It
shows
threshold.
great restraint to finally get them there, you know?
Because she, in the previous scene, had been saying, he doesn't see this sexy side of me. He doesn't see this, the Carrie Bradshaw of it all. And then in the next scene, she lets him. She does, you know, she lets him upstairs. She
That's the
even says, like,
dilemma.
let me introduce you to, like, my shoes, which is, you know, I mean, to Carrie, that's like, here's my heart and soul. Or here are my children. Here are my pets.
You're my many, many children.
And Shu looks at him when he enters the office. Shu looks
Yeah.
up like, this is new. We don't know who that is. Shu doesn't know who that is. So that's another thing. And back to LTW world, we see that LTW discovers in her very harried day that Gabrielle, little Gabby, has let Shirley, the hamster, out for a walk.
Oh my God.
Now, this was a big deal because
Words.
in the writing room, there was all sorts of conversations about what's too far for a mother yelling, what's too little for a mother yelling, how far does she go?
And the idea that we wanted to really humanize her, whether it was her response to Grace saying she'd taken another job or her becoming incredibly furious at her kid. I think like most parents have gotten furious at their kids and yelled at them in a way that they wish they hadn't. It's a terrible feeling.
And then to make it worse, we had her be witnessed by her nemesis, her mother-in-law.
Right.
There is a rodent loose in my house. A little rodent in this big house. We're never gonna find her now. She could die in here. Why did you do something so stupid? I'm furious at you. Furious!
Nana, this is how you speak to your children. My God, just as I suspected.
There were a number of takes, and I appreciate that the really harsh takes are in there because
Really? Well, there was even more dialogue that we eventually cut, but it was just the idea of her saying, calling Gabby stupid was the thing that was the most offensive to the mothers in the room. I should have never said stupid. And Herbert comes to her and says, so you're not perfect, you're human.
You're human.
In the next beat of their story is the big election night that we've been alluding to for 2 seasons. And you see the perfect family going out to the election party. Eunice is there. They're all in white and triumphant, and they go down that hall, and he's 5 points ahead outside the margin of error, and the mother's saying, "You'll win. Wexley's always win," and they get in there chanting, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," and then the elevators open up. They've come home, and Eunice says, "I hate this filthy city," but it's almost as if she's saying, "I hate this fucking city."
Yeah, that's the thought bubble above Sam Irby every time she comes and visits New York.
I always have to sneak it in there. People get so mad, too.
The comedy is that
wrong
right before he lost, she was like, "Ooh, this city is the creme de la creme." And then after he lost, She's like, I hate this filthy city. And you find out oddly and sort of very accurately, they don't know how he lost when the margins were in his favor. And then Gabby says working class swayed the vote. Something that's very familiar around the world. And Eunice says, I have no time for the working class.
Oh, my God.
And then LTW has to then hold Herbert up. But we see in Chris Jackson's performance that he's shocked that he lost and that he can't move off this. Even when she says you're human, it can't happen.
I also love that, LTW screamed at her daughter in front of Eunice, and Eunice is like, oh, you're such a terrible mother. But then turns around and says this horribly cutting thing to her adult son. And you're like, whoa, you're a way worse mother.
And the
than
thing she
LTW.
says, how could you ever have entered an election if there was a chance you could lose? I mean, that feels
It's so
horribly cutting,
painful.
but that's how she thought as a person of her generation. You can't put yourself out there.
And it helps you understand the mantra he was raised with, which is like, there is no room for failure. There's no room for imperfection. And that's why he goes into such a shame spiral, into a depression.
Because he had the same speech with her of like, don't worry, you're human, you can make mistakes. And we always say that to other people, but then we don't hold ourselves to it. We
Right.
don't
No, we
allow
don't.
ourselves.
Right.
We can't allow ourselves to be human.
Right.
What I love about this episode is that it is so full that everybody's in their own world, but they somehow are intersecting. And Charlotte seems to be the connective tissue for the last two stories. The first one, of course, is the de facto, unannounced baby visit to Mia, the baby's mother. Charlotte and Miranda are in some sort of hijinks, Harriet the Spy, but with a pregnancy moment. They're walking to the beauty salon where
To do a little
recon
scout.
to see who this person is. And Miranda says, Brady doesn't even know I'm here.
I love
want
she does that as they're entering the store. Like,
Yeah.
P.S.
P.S. No, I didn't tell anyone who we are. Don't mention it. And Charlotte has that look like I'm
like, oh,
uh-oh.
God.
She starts by saying, I heard good things about this stylist, Mia. And they go, we don't have a stylist named Mia. And then we see Mia come out very pregnant, played by Ella Stiller, who is amazing.
Phenomenal. And we talked a
Perfect.
lot about Mia, who we wanted Mia to be. We did not want her to be a joke. We didn't want her to just be like a bimbo. We wanted her to be a very specific kind of person who would drive Miranda crazy.
We needed
and-
her also to be comic and real. We didn't want to bring a straight girl in and just say, I'm nice, I'm a hippie.
No, she's got her health app.
As she sips a Red Bull, which tells you
Yes.
she's full of shit.
Right.
How she's pregnant.
Pregnant, sipping a Red Bull, talking about her health app. But the magic of the character is that we didn't really know where we were going. Eventually, we just knew we had to introduce this character, and that relied on a very special actor, and we got Ella Stillard. And Miranda is sort of taken back. She's almost like a child and a Hell's Angel combined in a weird way. She's tough,
Right.
but she's also Cindy Lou Who from The Grinch That Stole Christmas. It's a weird combination that she has.
We knew it would only be funny if Miranda is going to give this person shit if she could bite back. Like she had to give as good as she gets.
Yeah, and
that-
then of course, because it's us,
she
we
gets
can't
waterboarded.
start well before the waterboarding. The fate worse than that, farted in her face.
Oh, yeah. Call back to Miranda's.
Gas.
Biggest dream of
Mhm.
my life
Oh,
is getting to write farts into this show.
Yeah, well, congratulations. You accomplished
you.
not just one. You got a deal, like 7 parts, I
Like
believe.
IBS is always somewhere in
My
the
cup
ether of Sam's
overfloweth.
script.
Anyway, you see Charlotte sitting there, as Greg said in episode 2, the high school principal, with the big Charlotte eyes, giving Miranda the big Charlotte eyes from afar. And then you see Miranda sort of lying and pretending that she's not the mother and asking.
It's like how do you get Like she was terrible at pretending to be someone who's just, really interested in how do you know who
And
the
then
father
she
is?
starts saying paternity test, casual sex, and Mia says, "Wait a minute, why would you ask me that?" And this is where I think it's really interesting because Mia becomes a person at that point, like with a head and intellect, and
We didn't. It's like any thinking person is only going to take so much before you realize
they're
that
like,
these
"What
are
is your
not.
problem?"
These
and then
are
when she
not
finds
normal
out Miranda's
questions.
Brady's mother, she does what? Waterboard her.
Waterboard.
And the funny thing was, Ella, being a kind person, kept not wanting to actually stick the water over
Cynthia's
Cynthia
head.
Nixon, and we were like, "You got to do it."
Right down her face every single time. And Cynthia, of course, doesn't ever say anything. She's just that blood-curdling scream. I mean, Cynthia, when she's full out, is like nobody else. But what we find out is it did not go well. She walks away, and Miranda feels like she made it worse.
Definitely made it worse. How was that ever going to end any other way?
Yeah.
It's a terrible idea.
Mia didn't even want to tell Brady. Mia just ran into Brady and he, found out about it. And now this crazy lady is there asking if it's really Brady's baby.
But I think she went to see that it's real. I think she doesn't, she had to see the pregnant belly. It's the beginning of it's not just a story, it's real. And she had to see if it was really somebody that Brady was with. So the Charlotte connective tissue goes right now to Carrie. Charlotte has been unable to book her energy cleanse because her apartment's so noisy that she decides Carrie, with that big empty house, has perfect quiet space. So she goes over there to do her energy cleanse. And as they're walking through the closet, she sees this beautiful, interesting dress by Vivienne Westwood hanging on the hanger, and it's called a Cinderella dress. It's tattered, and it's sort of a combination of Cinderella cleaning up the ashes and Cinderella at the ball. But Charlotte mentions it, and she says, "What's this?" And she says, "It's a party I'm going to." And then one of my favorite scenes is Carrie explaining to Charlotte her situation. And Charlotte quietly listening as Carrie mentally tries to figure out if she should move from that idealized state. And now she's fussing over a dress.
Right.
Should she risk it?
Am I going to mess up this perfect relationship she has with someone that's on a very cerebral level?
And the bigger shock to it is that she's also being very aware of what it will look like to Miranda. And that reference is something that we always knew. Like Miranda said this in episode 7.
And it felt radical to me to have the two women talking about the third who isn't there, and the fact that Charlotte says "fuck Miranda" was that was a first. But also, I think we all liked it because she's supporting Carrie, and also Carrie admitting that day that she was defensive.
Well, she also says that Aiden thought it was a thing.
Right.
Miranda thought it was a thing. Everybody thought it was about a thing,
everyone
but
to
me,
be right.
and it wasn't.
Yeah. Do I admit that maybe it is more?
It's almost like out of spite that she's like, I don't want to hook up with him because I don't want everyone else to be right. Like, I feel like that's something I would do.
Yes.
Just like,
no, I
not
love
rational of just like, I don't want my friends to be right.
Yes. I don't want to admit there was something going on.
I think she doesn't want her to be wrong more. I don't think she wants to have betrayed anybody. And the fact of the matter is things have changed, as Charlotte says. Aiden is gone and he's not coming back. Audience.
Right, that's kind of harsh.
And
I just heard a million hearts shatter.
Aiden is gone and he's not coming back. And that dress is really special and it deserves to be seen. I mean, Charlotte is the best friend ever in this moment.
Truly.
And then she follows it with "fuck Miranda." I mean, it's everything you want. And then Carrie says, "Ooh, somebody needs an energy cleanse." But she leaves the scene not knowing if she should wear that dress.
It or not.
And then we get to see Charlotte finally with Rhonda Portente, and Rhonda's making a sarcastic joke about what you hate your new wallpaper, and you hear a very familiar voice.
It's a 50-minute session. The clock is ticking. Okay. You don't have your camera on.
Doesn't need to be.
Oh, is it better sitting or should I lie down? I made sure not to wear any restrictive clothing just in case you need to, get in there.
Whatever you're comfortable with. It's a psychic energy cleanse, not a pelvic exam.
I don't know what I'm comfortable with. I didn't even expect to win the silent auction. I just bid to get it started. $40 isn't much.
No, it's not, is it, dear?
She appears, and it's Susie Esman, who we said...
We've been waiting all the last 3 seasons. When are we going to bring
all of
Susie
our lives.
Esman in? And felt like
Susie
she had to be
Esman,
Rhonda Portante.
we said, please do this. And it's interesting because she was there for all of those. Those aren't voiceovers. We recorded Susie doing all of those off camera for this moment because she's quintessential, tough New Yorker. And what I love about Rhonda, when something is authentic, she shows up.
Yeah.
And she's not a joke. We're not doing a joke that she's a
didn't
spiritual
end-
fraud.
Right,
you don't have to
right,
believe
right.
it, but she's there for Charlotte and tells her she has all the time in the world. She's going to take her on an energy cleanse. Thanks, Susie, for doing it.
We love you, Susie.
And later that night, we see Carrie in the closet about to go to the party, and she has decided to not wear the Vivienne Westwood Cinderella dress. Instead, she's in a very sexy business suit, which is appropriate, by the
For
way.
publishing party.
And then Carrie goes down the stairs. Side note, these are the highest shoes Sarah Jessica's ever worn on the show. She has a tight skirt that goes to just below her knee and the highest shoe, and I'm asking her to go downstairs, hit a mark so that I can see that the shoe turns and she changes her mind. And she decides that dress deserves to be seen, and then we see it. Carrie
In all its
walking.
glory. Lincoln Center.
Lincoln Center, the sculpture, the garden. This is a triumph. I think this scene is a triumph to everybody. The costume department, first of all, Carrie's looks amazing and very Carrie Bradshaw. The DP, Tim Norman, and his crew created this giant, beautiful scene. The editor cut it. The music department picked this British song with, that sort of gets us into the idea of we're going to a Brit party. And Sarah Jessica then plays it in perfect realization of who Carrie Bradshaw still is.
Is this the first episode with the deep part, too?
This is the side part. I was just going to bring that up.
Okay.
It's so funny because everybody on set kept talking about the side part. Serge Normand, who is a genius, and we're lucky enough to have him do Carrie's hair. Every department's always working on character. What's happened? What's new? And after Aiden, they started to think, I guess, what's new? Like, how can we show that Carrie's
Doing
changed?
something different.
And they put a side part, which she's never done, and wild. That big Carrie wild hair that she references, I want the garden to be wild. And now she's looking like Carrie. But that side part, people kept talking side part, side part, side. It's amazing. I'm surprised you mentioned it, Rachel.
Are you kidding? It's season 4, the Vogue haircut. Like it is like such a stark of like, oh my gosh, she changed her hair. Like it's
very striking.
It's something that you do after a breakup. Like you just do. Like it's like what am I going to do? And it's so hard. But Carrie's been on our TVs for 20 years, and it's like to still be surprised and excited by her new haircut. Like it sounds
and also
so stupid,
surprised and excited because in the story she's more Carrie than she's ever been in this moment. After all this, she's owned herself. And we meet Duncan's publisher.
Yeah, that was exciting and proves
Imogen.
that they really don't. She doesn't know anything about him.
No, because what we
That's all
discover is
new information.
that after a very flirty hello from Duncan saying you clean up good, she's like, just give me the cash. So they're still doing a little banter. There's still the intellectual smarties. And then they get to the bar, and Tina Benko is playing Imogen, the publisher, and she's perfection because she's smart and
beautiful,
sharp and beautiful and legit. And Carrie realizes that that's his ex-wife, his publisher. And she walks away.
He's been fallen behind.
He's fallen behind his deadline. And also she says, we can talk about your deadline extension when you're in London next week, which implies he's
There's
leaving.
a lot of information
But she also is so excited to see Carrie Bradshaw at a party.
Yeah, I know. Like,
This is-
yeah, she says, I've
I love
always
the
wanted her
reality.
to get to a publishing thing. And why is she at this one? It's not even a good one. You know what I mean? But the idea of that Carrie is a thing. And that's what we learn in the next scene when they're walking back to their house. And the idea is, he says, Carrie Bradshaw, that tonight we've
Is a
learned that
thing.
you're a thing. And she says, and I've learned that you're a mess. And she then does a callback to what he did earlier in her shoe room when he says, rewrite coming in. She says, I think your book is wonderful. He says, I think you're wonderful. And then that's her rewrite. I think you're wonderful. And he then feels the door and he says, would you like to come down? And now I, as a director, got to say a writing thing to Jonathan Cake. Sometimes they don't really know what we intend. He has that line, to be clear, I'm done writing for tonight. And he was playing it a little bit like it was a fact. And I go, that's you telling her,
That's an
if you come
invitation.
down, I'm not writing. And when I said it, he was like, oh, that's fantastic. Yes. And then the subtleness of come down. And she stands there for a very long time,
Yeah, we
weighing
wanted
it.
to give her the agency of her saying, like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then, much like the outfit earlier, I'm doing it.
Yeah. And so
Mhm.
eventually she says, no, I'm not coming down. He goes downstairs and looks up at her, and she goes upstairs and then changes her mind and calls his name and runs to him.
And
Hubba hubba.
And I like, because we're so used to seeing them use the back stairs and that door, and this felt like okay, we're
Get in the
crossing
front
that
door.
threshold. Come in the front door.
It's a wonderful, very, very old-fashioned movie moment. Like she's Deborah Carr or someone, and she's coming around and kissing him. And in the movies, that would be the end. That would be you'd go out on the kiss and that's enough. But on our show, you have to go to the next moment, which is post-sex. Didn't want to see the sex.
I had forgotten that. I was like, where was the sex? I wasn't there that day on set. Well, I want to see more.
I think
Michael was like, that's it. That's all you get.
Sex implied is she's sitting in bed with that blue bra with that strap off, and he's naked, and they're laying there, and they're comfortable, and she has a drink, and it's that blissful moment, and they're complimenting each other. And he smokes a joint, and it's like, oh yeah, there's a whole other side to him we haven't seen.
Right.
And she's just comfortable. And hopefully you feel that they had great sex. It's comfort after great sex. But the real moment for me is when, you know, they're talking about I'm a mess and I'm going to go back to London, and you get all that. And then he gets really excited when he says, oh, what's going to happen with the book? Like he turns into
like he still
Like a
cares.
big kid.
Well,
like
yeah.
a big
His
kid.
face
What's going to
opens
happen
up.
to the woman? He just lights up. And then she talks about the woman will die. And he says cliche. And the other thing that's interesting in this scene is he says, any regrets after he lays all that stuff out about I'm leaving. And she says, I shouldn't have cut that lavender paragraph. So that's her only regret, that she listened to him about her writing, not that she had this one night of sex with him.
Well, and I noticed that we really didn't want it to feel like they have sex. For the first time, they really crossed that boundary. And then to hear he's leaving, we didn't want it to feel like a crushing blow to her.
I was a little, I feel like I can say this, a little cool on Duncan at first.
As a character, the idea?
No, as at his like presentation.
When you saw it, you said, I don't like it when Carrie has to work.
Yes, I don't. I mean, I don't think any woman should ever be working for anything from a man, but I particularly don't like Carrie trying to get water out of the Duncan stone. And it was so nice to see, like, they built this relationship and they're comfortable and she has no expectations. You know she's not going to be hurt when he leaves. They just have like a little perfect, I don't know. It's just like dessert, right?
Yeah,
They
it's
just
the
had a
cherry
little
on the
perfect
sundae.
dessert. Yeah, and then you go on to your next meal, and I think their relationship is so great. I was really excited, like, at the way it turned out.
Well, yeah, speaking of the Duncan Stone, we knew we were going to get them in bed for one great night, and then he was going to go. We knew that from the beginning. So in order to not get the audience there before this day, we had to make him the Duncan Stone. Like, we didn't want you to know, oh, they're going to be in it.
Yeah, we
wanted to
her to
make
have
him
to
a
work
real
for it.
obstacle, and also not a dream boat, and not a sexual, like, yeah.
Not to say that Jonathan Cake is not attractive.
No, but it was, he is,
a
honey.
dreamboat.
But there was even that one guy on Instagram that saw a picture of Carrie and Jonathan Cake on the street, and some queen was like, girl, drop the other one. This is the guy you should be with. F. Aiden, go with him. So it's already in the world there, but it was a deliberate, we made him a stone so that you could then make him not a stone. And I think the most thrilling thing in the end is when she busts his balls and says, oh, Duncan, you're such a writer. And then he leans in and says, darling, so are you. This from this fancy, successful writer looks at her and tells her, you're a writer. And that's a big moment and a wonderful way to leave her in the garden, having a cup of tea in her beautiful yard after he's gone back to London, and reflecting in the voiceover that the sun is still on her face, even though it's autumn, and how wonderful it feels. How lovely, how lovely, how lovely. And just like that, we've reached the end of episode 10 of season 3. Thanks so much, my friends Julie, Samantha, and Rachel for being here and joining and talking. We'll be back next week to discuss episode 11 called Forget About the Boy. As ever, you can stream new episodes of In Just Like That Thursdays on Max. And Just Like That, The Writer's Room is produced by Sony Music Podcasts for Max. At Sony, Sharon Morris is the executive producer, Gianna Palmer is the lead producer, Sammy Allison is head of production. Tamika Balance-Kalasny is our production manager, and Sam Baer is our engineer. Special thanks to Becky Rowe, Allison Cohen-Sorokach, Kenya Reyes, and Aaron Kelly from the Max podcast team. Thank you for listening.